Welcome, brothers of the Sigma male community. Today, we're diving into one of the most profound and often overlooked aspects of human psychology, a force so powerful it can shape your entire life without you even realizing it. Have you ever felt like there's an invisible weight holding you back, a shadow from your earliest days that whispers doubts into your mind? That, my friends, is what Carl Jung called the mother complex, a psychological imprint so deep it can influence your relationships, your self-worth, and even your drive for independence. But here's the truth. Understanding it is the key to mastering it. In this video, we'll explore how this complex affects you as a Sigma male, a man who values self-reliance, resilience, and autonomy above all else. We'll uncover the hidden truths of your psyche, using Carl Jung's groundbreaking work on psychology to shed light on this often misunderstood wound. So, buckle up, because this journey into the depths of your mind might just change everything you thought you knew about yourself. I'm your host, and this is Sigma Male Community, where we embrace the stoic strength of independence and the wisdom of self-mastery. First, enduring influence. Carl Jung, a pioneer of analytical psychology, described the mother complex as a constellation of feelings, memories, and associations centered around the mother figure, deeply embedded in the psyche. This complex is not merely about your personal mother, but also connects to the universal archetype of the Great Mother, a symbol of nurturing, protection, and sometimes overwhelming control or chaos. For Sigma males who pride themselves on their fierce independence, this concept might seem distant, yet it's precisely this complex that often fuels your drive for autonomy. Carl Jung would argue that your earliest bond with your mother doesn't fade. It evolves into the operating system of your psyche, influencing how you navigate relationships, assess your self-worth, and handle conflict, often without conscious awareness. This isn't a sign of weakness, it's primal wiring. Your drive for dominance, your aversion to perceived neediness, even your definition of strength. These might be echoes of strategies you developed as a child to secure survival or affection in a world you couldn't control. Recognizing these echoes is the first step to reclaiming your psychological source code, allowing you to differentiate between reactive behaviors and conscious choices. Carl Jung depth psychology. For Sigma males, this enduring influence can manifest as a double-edged sword. On one hand, it may have forged your resilience and self-reliance, qualities you wear as badges of honor. On the other, it can create unconscious patterns that undermine your autonomy, such as a need to prove yourself, or a tendency to withdraw emotionally to avoid vulnerability. Carl Jung's insights suggest that these patterns stem from early experiences, where your mother's presence or absence shaped your understanding of safety and worth. Perhaps you learned to suppress emotions to gain approval, or maybe you pushed for independence to escape control. These strategies, while adaptive in childhood, can become limiting in adulthood, driving you to seek validation in ways that feel misaligned with your true self. By bringing these influences into conscious awareness, you can begin to rewrite the script, aligning your actions with your values as a Sigma male. This process embodies Stoic principles, accepting what was, focusing on what you can control now, and moving forward with clarity and purpose. 2. Lifelong pursuit of validation. Carl Jung observed that unresolved issues with the mother can lead to a lifelong quest for validation, a pattern particularly poignant for Sigma males who often feel like outsiders, unbound by societal norms. The mother complex can instill a deep-seated belief that your worth is conditional, earned through achievement, stoicism, or emotional restraint. As a child, you might have felt that love was contingent upon performance, being the good son, the quiet one, or the achiever. This early programming translates into adulthood as a relentless drive for external validation, trophies, status, or even isolation as a form of armor. But here's the harsh truth Carl Jung would emphasize. No amount of external success can fill an internal wound created by the belief that being yourself was never enough for that first, crucial bond. This chase is a ghost, always elusive, always just out of reach, leaving you with a gnawing sense of not enough. No matter how much you achieve, the psychology and mythology of the mother complex. For Sigma males, this pursuit can feel like a paradox. You value independence, yet you might find yourself driven by an unconscious need to prove your worth, perhaps to a mother figure who could never fully see you. Carl Jung would challenge you to look beneath this drive. Is your independence pure strength? Or is it reactive armor built by a child who learned early that connection meant risk? This isn't about weakness, but about strategic intelligence. By recognizing this pattern, you can shift from seeking external validation to cultivating intrinsic self-respect. This aligns with Stoic wisdom. You cannot control the past or others' perceptions, but you can control how you respond. Journaling your triggers, reflecting on moments when you feel compelled to prove yourself, and questioning whether these impulses serve your true goals can help you break free from this cycle. The goal is to live from a place of wholeness, where your worth is no longer a transaction, but a given. Third, reclaiming the narrative. While the mother complex sets the stage, Carl Jung emphasized that you are not a puppet of your past. His concept of individuation, the process of becoming your true self, separate from familial and societal expectations, is central to healing. For Sigma males, this means recognizing that your mother handed you the opening lines of your story, but the rest is yours to write. Her influence shaped your character, provided the initial conflict, but the plot twists, the climax, the resolution, that's your authorship. Stop letting Chapter 1 dictate Chapter 30. Your past isn't an apology you owe the world. It's backstory you integrate. The Sigma male forges his own path, but understanding your origin story is how you stop unconsciously reenacting it. Carl Jung would argue that healing begins with reclaiming your narrative, transforming unconscious reactions into conscious choices, healing the mother wound. A step-by-step guide. This process requires ruthless clarity, a quality Sigma males naturally possess. Carl Jung's individuation involves confronting the parts of yourself shaped by your mother's influence, perhaps a need to please, a fear of vulnerability, or a drive to dominate, and deciding which serve you and which don't. This isn't about rejecting your past, but integrating it into a life you consciously choose. Stoicism complements this beautifully. Accept what was, focus on what you can control, and move forward with purpose. Practical steps include reflecting on moments when you feel trapped by old patterns and asking, is this my choice or my past speaking? By writing these reflections, you externalize the narrative, making it easier to edit. The Sigma male's strength lies in his ability to carve his own path, and reclaiming your narrative is the ultimate expression of that power. You become the author, not the character, of your life's story. Fourth, repetition of patterns. Carl Jung would argue that our unconscious minds often replay unresolved conflicts from our early years. a phenomenon particularly frustrating for Sigma males who value control and predictability. You might find yourself in familiar dynamics, perhaps attracting partners who demand the performance you learned as a child, or sabotaging success when it mirrors a dynamic you once knew. These aren't conscious choices. They're deep grooves worn into your psyche by your original relationship with your mother. Carl Jung described this as the psyche's attempt to resolve unfinished business, seeking closure through repetition. For Sigma males, these patterns can feel like a betrayal of your autonomy, as if your mind is working against you. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking free, allowing you to choose responses that align with your true self rather than your past, the mother archetype. To disrupt these cycles, Carl Jung's approach emphasizes bringing the unconscious into consciousness. For Sigma males, this means noticing when old patterns arise, the anger, the withdrawal, the sudden need to prove yourself, and pausing. Ask yourself, is this now, or is this ancient history screaming? Practical steps include journaling your emotional triggers, speaking unsaid fears in solitude, or challenging the inner critic with questions like, is this my truth or an old recording? These conscious micro-choices disrupt the autopilot, allowing you to respond rather than react. This process aligns with Stoic principles of focusing on what's within your control, your perceptions and actions. By doing so, you transform from a reactive player in someone else's script to the director of your own life, embodying the Sigma male's commitment to self-mastery. 5. Healing requires action, practical steps. Insight alone isn't enough. Carl Jung's therapeutic approach emphasizes that healing requires action. For Sigma males who thrive on taking charge, this is empowering news. Healing the mother wound involves noticing when old patterns trigger visceral reactions, anger, withdrawal, or the need to prove yourself, and taking deliberate steps to disrupt them. Pause and ask, is this reaction rooted in the present, or is it an echo of my past? Carl Jung would encourage you to externalize these failings through journaling, allowing you to process unresolved emotions. Speak the unsaid fears in solitude, or challenge the inner critic by asking, is this my truth or an inherited belief? These conscious micro-choices act like a scalpel, cutting through the veil of the past and enabling you to respond with intention rather than reflex. Healing the mother wound, a step-by-step guide. For Sigma males, these actions are not just therapeutic, but strategic. They align with your natural inclination toward self-reliance, turning inner work into a form of disciplined practice. Carl Jung's concept of active imagination, engaging with your unconscious through writing or dialogue, can be particularly powerful. By confronting these patterns head-on, you reclaim control over your psyche, embodying Stoic resilience. This isn't about dwelling on the past, but about using it to strengthen your present. Each time you pause, reflect, and choose differently, you weaken the grip of old scripts, forging a path to authentic autonomy. This is the Sigma way. Not just surviving, but thriving through conscious, deliberate action. 6. Recognizing projection in relationships. Carl Jung introduced the concept of projection, where we attribute our unconscious traits or feelings onto others, and this is particularly relevant to the mother complex. For Sigma males, you might project unmet needs or unresolved issues onto current relationships, seeing a demanding boss as the critical mother figure, or expecting a partner to provide the unconditional safety you lacked. Carl Jung would say these projections are your psyche's attempt to resolve old wounds by casting others in roles from your past. This can set up relationships for failure, as you unconsciously demand others play parts they cannot fulfill. Recognizing these projections is crucial for reclaiming your power, allowing you to engage with others from a place of authenticity rather than past pain. The mother complex, its definition and implications. For Sigma males who value clarity and directness, spotting projections can be liberating. It means seeing people as they are, not as symbols of your unresolved issues. Carl Jung's approach involves observing when your reactions feel disproportionate to the situation. A sudden anger or defensiveness might signal a projection. Reflect on whether you're responding to the present or to an old script. This process aligns with Stoic principles of controlling your perceptions, ensuring your interactions are grounded in reality. By dismantling these projections, you free yourself from the past's grip, allowing you to build relationships based on mutual respect and genuine connection, a cornerstone of the Sigma male's independent ethos. 7. Unmet childhood needs. At the heart of the mother complex are unmet childhood needs, safety, affection, or validation that felt conditional or absent. Carl Jung would argue that these needs, when unmet, fossilize into deep-seated hungers or distrusts in adulthood. For Sigma males who often build fortresses around themselves, these wounds might manifest as a need for control, a drive for admiration, or a profound distrust of intimacy. Carl Jung saw these as archetypal, tied to the universal human need for a nurturing presence. Perhaps you had to be the easy child to gain attention, or maybe affection came with strings attached. These experiences shape your psyche, creating patterns that can undermine your autonomy if left unaddressed. Inner child healing and the mother wound. Healing these unmet needs requires acknowledging them without shame. For Sigma males who might resist vulnerability, this can feel counterintuitive, but Carl Jung would emphasize that true strength lies in facing these shadows. Practical steps include identifying moments when you feel an insatiable hunger for control, recognition, or invulnerability, and tracing them back to their roots. Ask yourself, what did I need as a child that I didn't receive? By meeting these needs yourself through self-compassion and structure, you reclaim your power. This aligns with Stoic wisdom. You cannot change the past, but you can build an inner sanctuary that no external event can shake. This self-reliance is the essence of the Sigma male, transforming wounds into sources of strength. 8. Healing through integration. Jung. Carl Jung's approach to healing isn't about rejecting or denying your past, but integrating it into your conscious self. For Sigma males, this means not dismissing the mother complex, but understanding it as part of your psychological landscape. It's like historical data. You acknowledge its presence, understand its weight, and then decide how much space it gets in your present life. Carl Jung would argue that healing involves staring directly at the wound, feeling its contours without flinching, and consciously choosing how it influences you now. This is mastery, true Sigma mastery. By integrating these insights, you transform the mother complex from a hidden driver into a known factor, one you can navigate with clarity and intention, the mother archetype. This process requires a Stoic commitment to self-discipline. Carl Jung's concept of integration involves recognizing the maternal imprint as a piece of your story, not the whole. Practical steps include reflecting on how your mother's influence shows up in your life, perhaps in your need for control or your aversion to vulnerability, and deciding which parts serve your goals. Journaling these reflections can help you map your psyche, identifying what to keep and what to release. For Sigma males, this is empowering. You're not erasing your past, but using it to build a stronger, more authentic present. By choosing how the mother complex influences you, you embody the Stoic principle of focusing on what's within your control, forging a path to psychological sovereignty. 9. Seeing mother as human. A crucial step in healing is demystifying the mother figure. Carl Jung would encourage you to see her not as an archetype, whether nurturing goddess or devouring monster, but as a human being with her own flaws, wounds, and limitations. She wasn't acting out of malice. She was often projecting her own unhealed pain, shaped by her own circumstances and societal pressures. This isn't about forgiveness, but about understanding that her influence doesn't define you. By seeing her humanity, you drain her power over your inner narrative, allowing you to step into your own sovereignty. Carl Jung's insights suggest that this demystification shatters the symbol, leaving only human reality, which is far less controlling than an archetype. Carl Jung on his mother. For Sigma males who might hold on to idealized or demonized images of their mother, this shift can be liberating. It aligns with Stoic principles of accepting reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Reflect on your mother's context, her struggles, her limitations, and how they shaped her actions. This doesn't excuse harm, but reduces its emotional charge, freeing you to focus on your own path. Practical steps include writing a letter, not to send, to your mother, expressing what you needed and what you received, then reflecting on her as a person, not a symbol. This process allows you to release the past's grip, embodying the Sigma male's commitment to living on his own terms, unencumbered by old narratives. 10. Reclaiming self. Carl Jung's concept of individuation is about discovering who you are beneath the masks and roles you've adopted to please or protect. For Sigma males, this means stripping away the performer, the achiever, the stoic, the untouchable, and finding the core I that exists independently of external validation or past expectations. This is terrifying, yet essential, as it requires sitting in the void, past the strategies developed to earn love or deflect pain. Carl Jung would say this is the ultimate act of self-possession, where you define yourself on your own terms, free from the shadows of the past. For Sigma males, this aligns with your natural inclination toward independence, turning inner work into a powerful act of self-definition. The mother wound, how to finally heal. To reclaim yourself, Carl Jung's approach involves confronting the personas you've built, perhaps the stoic loner or the relentless achiever, and asking, who am I without these roles? Practical steps include solitary reflection, meditation, or journaling to explore your authentic desires and values. For Sigma males, this process is empowering because it reinforces your autonomy, not as a reaction to past wounds, but as a conscious choice. Stoicism supports this by encouraging you to focus on your inner world, letting go of external expectations. By finding your core self, you embody true psychological sovereignty, living as the man you choose to be, not the one your past demanded. 11th, outcome of healing. When you heal the mother wound, the shift is profound yet internal. Carl Jung would argue that the desperate chase for external proof of worth loses its grip, allowing you to stop performing versions of yourself for validation. Challenges still come. Failures occur, but they no longer shake your foundation. Self-respect becomes intrinsic, not earned. For Sigma males, this means your natural autonomy deepens, no longer fueled by rebellion against an old wound, but grounded in authentic self-knowledge and strength. You engage with the world from a place of wholeness, not lack, embodying the Stoic principle of inner resilience. Healing the Mother Wound, a step-by-step guide. This outcome is the essence of Sigma male mastery. Carl Jung's individuation process transforms you from a man driven by unconscious patterns to one who operates from his center. Practical steps to sustain this include regularly checking in with yourself through journaling or meditation to ensure your actions align with your true self. Reflect on moments when you feel whole, not reactive, and build on those. This process reinforces your independence, not as a defense but as a natural expression of your healed psyche. By living from this place, you create a life of purpose and clarity, embodying the Sigma male's commitment to excellence and self-mastery. 12. Mother as foundational blueprint. Carl Jung saw the mother as your first universe, the original map for understanding safety, connection, and worthiness. Before logic or language, her presence or absence imprinted your nervous system, forming the bedrock of how you relate to others and yourself. For Sigma males who often value self-reliance, understanding this blueprint is crucial. It's not about blaming or resenting, but recognizing how it shapes your interactions. Carl Jung would argue that this primal connection sets the baseline for how you experience belonging and threat, influencing your drive for independence, or your aversion to vulnerability, the mother archetype. For Sigma males, this blueprint can explain why you might guard your autonomy so fiercely or struggle with trust. Carl Jung's insights suggest that by making this blueprint conscious, you can navigate it with intention. Practical steps include reflecting on how your early experiences with your mother influence your current relationships. Perhaps a need for control stems from chaos, or emotional distance from conditional love. Journaling these connections can help you see the patterns clearly. Stoicism complements this by encouraging you to accept this blueprint as part of your past, while focusing on how you respond now. By understanding your foundational wiring, you empower yourself to build relationships and a sense of self that align with your true values, not unconscious imprints. 13. Mother as archetype. Jung. Carl Jung saw the mother not just as a personal figure but as an archetype, a universal symbol embodying nurturing, origin, chaos, and containment. Your personal mother is the primary vessel through which you experience this archetypal energy, whether through her nurturing warmth or her controlling shadow. For Sigma males who might have experienced the negative pole, control, engulfment, or abandonment, this archetype can profoundly shape how you relate to the world, authority, and your own inner depths. Carl Jung would argue that understanding this archetype helps you reframe your experiences, seeing them as part of a larger human pattern rather than a personal failing, the mother archetype. For Sigma males, this perspective is empowering because it universalizes your experience, reducing the emotional charge of personal wounds. Practical steps include exploring myths or stories about the Great Mother, figures like Demeter or Kali, to understand the dual nature of this archetype. Reflect on how your mother embodied these qualities and how they show up in your life now. This process aligns with Stoic wisdom. By accepting the archetypal nature of your experiences, you focus on what you can control, your response to them. By integrating this understanding, you free yourself from the archetype's shadow, allowing you to engage with the world from a place of clarity and strength, embodying the Sigma male's independent spirit. 14th, reclaiming responsibility for healing. Carl Jung emphasized that healing comes from within. No partner, mentor, or achievement can resolve the ancient ache of the mother wound. For Sigma males, this is empowering. You are the agent of your own transformation. By taking radical ownership of your inner world, you declare that this wound is yours to understand, feel, and heal. This is the ultimate power move, ending the futile quest for someone else to provide what was missing. Carl Jung would argue that this responsibility is the cornerstone of individuation, the process of becoming whole by confronting your inner shadows. The mother wound, how to finally heal. For Sigma males who thrive on self-reliance, this approach resonates deeply. Practical steps include setting aside time for self-reflection, perhaps through meditation or journaling, to explore your inner world without external validation. Ask yourself, what am I seeking from others that I can give myself? This process aligns with Stoic principles of focusing on what's within your control, your thoughts, actions, and self-perception. By reclaiming responsibility, you shift from a child's stance of waiting for rescue to a Sigma male's stance of self-mastery, building an inner foundation that no external event can shake. 15. Body, mind, memory. Carl Jung recognized that the body holds memories the mind might forget. The tightening chest, flash of rage, or freeze response aren't just reactions to the present. They're somatic echoes of pre-verbal experiences stored in your nervous system. For Sigma males, who pride themselves on rationality, acknowledging these bodily memories is key to fully integrating the mother complex. Carl Jung would argue that these physical reactions are your body's way of signaling unresolved wounds from early childhood, when you lacked the words to process feelings of unsafety or abandonment, inner child healing, and the mother wound. To work with these memories, Carl Jung's approach involves listening to your body as a historian of your past. For Sigma males, this means noticing physical reactions, perhaps tension when you feel criticized or a racing heart when you're vulnerable, and tracing them back to their roots. Practical steps include body-focused practices like deep breathing or mindfulness to calm these responses, followed by journaling to connect them to early experiences. This process aligns with Stoic discipline. You acknowledge the body's signals without being ruled by them, using them to inform your healing. By integrating these somatic memories, you free yourself from their unconscious grip, embodying the Sigma male's commitment to self-awareness and control. 16. Self-mothering. Carl Jung's therapeutic framework emphasizes the transformative power of becoming the source of nurturing you once sought externally, a concept particularly resonant for Sigma males who value self-reliance. Self-mothering means actively providing yourself with the core elements missing from your early bond with your mother. Unwavering compassion, firm but fair boundaries, and a profound sense of inner safety. Carl Jung would argue that this process is essential for healing the mother wound, as it shifts you from seeking external validation to cultivating an internal sanctuary. For Sigma males, this isn't about weakness, but about strategic empowerment, building an inner foundation that no external event can shake. By giving yourself the kindness you deserved as a child, setting limits to protect your energy, and trusting your own resilience, you rewrite the narrative of lack into one of abundance. This act of self-possession is the ultimate expression of the Sigma male's independence, aligning with Carl Jung's vision of psychological wholeness, the mother wound, how to finally heal. For Sigma males, self-mothering is a disciplined practice that mirrors Stoic principles of controlling what lies within your power. Carl Jung's approach encourages you to identify moments when you feel emotionally triggered, perhaps by criticism or rejection, and respond with self-compassion rather than defensiveness. practical steps include speaking to yourself with encouragement during setbacks, creating routines that provide structure and stability, and visualizing a safe inner space where you can retreat and recharge. These actions aren't indulgent. They're tactical, reinforcing your autonomy by ensuring your emotional well-being no longer depends on others. By becoming your own source of nurturing, you dismantle the unconscious need for external approval, embodying the stoic clarity and Sigma strength that define your path. This process transforms you into your own protector and guide, a true master of your inner world. 17th, Individuation, Carl Jung's solution. Carl Jung's concept of individuation is the cornerstone of psychological healing, a journey toward becoming your authentic self by excavating the layers of adaptation formed to please or protect, particularly in response to the mother complex. For Sigma males who often define themselves by their independence, individuation is the ultimate act of self-mastery, requiring you to differentiate your true desires, values, and feelings from those imposed by your early relationship with your mother. Carl Jung would argue that this process involves confronting the shadows cast by the maternal archetype, perhaps a need to perform, a fear of vulnerability, or a drive for control, and consciously choosing which to integrate and which to release. This isn't selfishness, but psychological sovereignty, a state where you live according to your own truth, free from the unconscious scripts of your past, the mother archetype. For Sigma males, individuation aligns with Stoic principles of focusing on what you can control, your inner world and your choices. Carl Jung's approach requires ruthless honesty, a quality Sigma males naturally possess, to face the discomfort of questioning long-held behaviors. Practical steps include reflective practices like journaling, to explore questions like, what parts of my identity were shaped to meet my mother's expectations? Or, what do I truly want, free from past influences? Meditation can help you sit with the discomfort of this void, allowing your authentic self to emerge. By engaging in this process, you forge a life that reflects your core essence, not the roles you adopted to survive. This is the Sigma male's path to true freedom, where independence is no longer a reaction to pain, but a deliberate expression of your integrated self. 18. Breaking cycles, healing. The mother wound, as Carl Jung envisioned, is not just a personal triumph, but an evolutionary act that severs the chain of inherited trauma. For Sigma males who often seek to leave a lasting impact through their choices, breaking these cycles means refusing to perpetuate unconscious patterns, such as the need for control, born from chaos or emotional withholding learned as protection. Carl Jung would argue that by bringing conscious awareness to these scripts, you stop them from dictating your relationships and self-perception. This is a radical act of agency, transforming not only your life, but also the legacy you pass forward. By choosing awareness over autopilot, you create a new blueprint defined by conscious choice, self-awareness, and authentic connection, embodying the Sigma male's commitment to living deliberately, inner child healing, and the mother wound. For Sigma males, breaking cycles requires a stoic focus on long-term impact over short-term comfort. Carl Jung's insights suggest that this process begins with recognizing how your mother's influence shaped your behaviors, perhaps a tendency to dominate, to avoid feeling powerless, or to withdraw to avoid rejection, and consciously choosing different responses. Practical steps include tracking recurring patterns in your relationships or self-sabotaging behaviors and replacing them with intentional actions. such as open communication or self-compassion. Reflect on how your choices today might influence those around you, ensuring your legacy is one of strength and clarity. This process empowers you to live not as a product of your past, but as a creator of your future, aligning with the Sigma male's vision of forging a path that inspires others. 19. Compassion replaces blame. Carl Jung's therapeutic approach emphasizes that true healing comes from shifting from blame to compassion, a perspective that liberates Sigma males from the emotional tether of resentment. Blaming your mother, whether for her absence, control, or unmet expectations, keeps you locked in a child's rage, giving her power over your present. Carl Jung would argue that compassion involves understanding her as a human being, shaped by her own wounds, societal pressures and limitations, not as an archetype who failed you. This shift isn't about excusing harm, but about draining its emotional charge, allowing you to move from victimhood, "she did this to me," to empowerment, "this happened, and I choose my path." Compassion is the solvent for resentment, freeing you to focus on your own growth. Carl Jung on his mother. For Sigma males who value clarity and autonomy, this shift is a strategic move toward psychological freedom. Carl Jung's insights encourage you to reflect on your mother's context, her struggles, her inherited pain, and how they influenced her actions. Practical steps include writing a letter, not to send, detailing your experiences, then rewriting it from her perspective to understand her humanity. This process aligns with Stoic principles of accepting reality as it is, not as you wish it to be, allowing you to release the past's grip. By replacing blame with compassion, you reclaim your energy for self-mastery, embodying the Sigma male's commitment to living unencumbered by old wounds and focused on creating a life of purpose and strength. 20. Reclaiming authorship. With awareness comes agency, and Carl Jung's vision of healing culminates in reclaiming authorship of your life. For Sigma males, this means seizing the pen from the unconscious scripts written by your mother complex and consciously crafting your own narrative. Recognizing projections, understanding unmet needs, and practicing self-mothering empower you to stop reacting from old wounds and start responding with intention. Carl Jung would argue that this shift transforms your life from a reaction to your mother's influence into an active creation of your own design. Your definitions of success, connection, and self-worth become yours alone, no longer shaped by the shadows of the past. This is the Sigma male's ultimate triumph. Living as the sovereign architect of your destiny, the mother wound, how to finally heal. For Sigma males, reclaiming authorship is a disciplined act of self-definition that aligns with Stoic principles of controlling your own perceptions and actions. Carl Jung's approach involves consistently choosing responses that reflect your true self, whether in relationships, career, or personal growth, rather than defaulting to old patterns. Practical steps include setting clear intentions for how you want to live, regularly reflecting on whether your actions align with those intentions, and celebrating moments when you choose authenticity over reaction. This process ensures that your life reflects your conscious choices, not inherited scripts. By stepping fully into the role of author, you embody the Sigma male's commitment to independence and excellence, writing a story that inspires others to do the same. Brothers of the Sigma male community, we've journeyed deep into the heart of the mother complex. Guided by Carl Jung's profound psychological insights, you now hold the tools to understand how your earliest bond shaped your psyche, and how you can reclaim your narrative to live with true autonomy and strength. This isn't just about healing. It's about transforming your wounds into wisdom, your past into power. Take these lessons, apply them, and reflect on the man you're becoming, not the one your past tried to define. The Sigma male community is here to guide you, offering wisdom and practical steps to fuel your growth as a man of independence and excellence. Subscribe, hit the bell, and join us on this journey of self-mastery. Reflect on these truths, act on them, and forge a life that's truly yours. Until next time, stay strong, stay sovereign, and keep writing your own story.